um, family ties or a job that's waiting for you, or just social and economic ties. It's for students, it's extremely understandable that you're coming here to study. So as long as all of your paperwork is good and you have all the correct documents, then it's relatively easy to convince the officer that you would be leaving at the end of your studies.
Great. So before we transition to the residence section, does anyone have any questions for Legipe in regards to study permits or immigration? I'll kind of wait a few moments so you guys can type if needed. And not to worry, Legipe will be with us for the Q&A section. So if a question pops up throughout one of the other sections, we can definitely address your question at the end of our presentation.
So Jessica, I see a question here says, I'm from India, my English scores were waived. Do I need to take IELTS before applying for a visa? No, you don't need the IELTS to apply for the regular study permit. However, if you're applying through the Student Direct Stream, so the Student Direct Stream is for students living in that are legal residents in China, India, Philippines, or Vietnam, you will need to take the IELTS to apply through the Student Direct Stream. However, if you're just applying for a regular study permit, you don't need to take the IELTS before applying.
Okay, thank you. Good catch, Legipe. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let's see. There might be a couple more questions coming in. No, I believe they look, oh, after studies, will I not be allowed to work in Canada? Does this mean I will have to return to my home country?
Okay, so as long as you're a full-time student and you obey all the conditions of your study permit, you will be eligible for a postgraduate work permit at the end of your studies. So this is to give international students a chance to live and work in Canada. However, at the time that you apply for your study permit, so a study permit is a temporary resident visa. It's not a permanent resident. So you have to prove to the officer that your intention is temporary and not permanent. It's just a technical thing. Once you get here, you will be eligible for the work permits, and there are also options to stay if you choose to. But at the time that you apply for the study permit, you have to demonstrate an intention to leave Canada. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I haven't had any follow-ups yet. In that kind of vein, in terms of navigating their options once they complete their studies at McMaster, one of the students would like to know, how soon could a student potentially become a Canadian permanent resident?
It depends on a number of things. It'll depend on how soon you find work after you're done. It'll depend on your age, what if you have work experience from back home. It could take, after your studies, I would say about a year to 2 years.
Okay.
Minimum, yeah.
Perfect. Next question, which I think you briefly touched on. So if a student has a conditional offer, can they use this letter to start their study permit application?
Yes, they can use that to start the process, but then they should update their application once they have their full acceptance letter.
Perfect. And just to so students know, each of you, because we're talking to students from all over the world, each of you will have slightly different conditions of your offer. Some of them are academic conditions, so this means we need you to score a certain test mark or final grade in a course. Others will be about documentation, so we'll need your final IB certificate or your login information for your CBSE results. Everyone's going to have a slightly different date and when they must meet their conditions of their offer by. So most of these dates are going to be in July and August. So you will be well within your study permit application, kind of like well in that process during those times. And we will not be giving you an updated offer letter per se. So you're going to be getting an email from us saying you've met the conditions of your offer. So for everyone listening today, the offer that you have at this exact moment is more than enough to start the process that Legipe was speaking about earlier in the session. I'm just quickly going to see if we have one more question, and then I will go on to the next. Okay, if I'm a minor, to apply for a study permit, do I need a custodian form? Should these be provided by the university? If yes, how do I get it? So Legipe, are you able to kind of speak about students coming into the university underage, or even Anna for that purpose?
Yes, so you will need a custodian form. This isn't provided by the university at this time. If you're a minor, you need to show that there is someone in Canada who will be responsible for you, since your parents will not be here.
What is the definition of a minor? I'm curious.
For Ontario, it's 18 and below, yeah.
So if they're coming to the university and they're 17, but they're turning 18 in December or January, will they still require that?
Yes, they will still require that.
Perfect. Okay, so we've answered that one. I'm just quickly looking through. We have some great questions. February intake. Okay, so I think that we have covered all of the kind of immigration study permit questions, and we're going to jump into residence now. So thank you, Legipe, for your time, and we'll definitely come back to you in our Q&A section.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. So residence is a really important component of your time at McMaster. We think it's a fantastic opportunity to live on campus because it really helps transition your time at the institution. For a lot of you, this may be your first time coming to Canada, or you really have only been to Canada maybe to visit some friends and family for a short period of time. Living in residence allows us to make sure we're taking care of all of your basic needs so you can really focus on your academic success. You don't have to worry about how to get internet or how to get hydro or anything like that. You have a furnished room. You just have to bring some linens, and we're gonna help you with everything else in between, whether that's learning how to do laundry, to how to get a good cell phone plan and a bank account, which kind of Anna will talk about after. So we guarantee residence for all students applying from outside of Canada. So everyone is guaranteed a space in our residence with their offer of admission. There are all different types of rooms that you can live in. Technically, there's more than 16, so 16 different styles of residence, and that ranges from a traditional dorm, which will be a bed, a desk, a closet, and an apartment style, which would then be the same bedroom style, so desk, bed, closet, and then you have a kitchen and a living space that you share with other students. So within those two styles of traditional dorm and apartment suite style, there's 4 different variations. The variations tend to be based on how many other occupants are in the room. So you may have a double room that you share with another student, and typically the highest our rooms will go up to will be a quad. So you could share a room with up to 3 other students, but the rooms are substantially bigger. So it sounds like a lot of people, but the rooms are of a good size that you definitely still have some privacy in your own space. When you are filling out your residence application, which is due June 3rd, and I need to stress this, June 3rd, Toronto time, so for most of you in other time zones, it'll probably actually be June 4th. On your residence application, you're going to be ranking the styles 1 through 16 based on what you would prefer. And as I said, the 2 styles also have number of occupancy differences and also washroom differences. So it could be a private bathroom, a shared bathroom, or a bathroom that's for the hall. So just make sure you look into all of the different options. We are going to be able to provide you a link where you can see pictures of the 16 different styles. At McMaster, we have 13 different residence buildings. We have our 13th building opening this September, which we're really excited about. And every building is going to have different variations of those 16 styles. So it's not that one building all has single rooms and one building all has triple rooms. You're going to have different styles of rooms amongst different buildings. So you're not going to be ranking by building. You are going to be ranking by style. So again, make sure you do your research on what types of rooms you're looking for. In addition to the room type, we're able to accommodate, if you know somebody coming to McMaster, we're able to accommodate living with somebody you know. So if you have a friend coming to McMaster and you want to share a room, you can put each other's names on your residence application, and we can accommodate that. So that can either be through a double dorm, or maybe potentially you each have a room in an apartment. So make sure you fill out that application appropriately, and you each have to put each other's names on the residence form. So if you don't put your friend's name and they put you, we're not going to match you. We need to have matching applications with 2 people. When you're filling out your residence application, there's also kind of like a living style assessment. So this allows us to match you with students that have same living habits. So if you're an early riser, we're not going to match you with somebody that likes to go to bed late. If you're somebody that likes to study with music on, we're not going to match you with somebody that likes to study in complete silence. So there's lots of ways that we can help kind of match the living style when you are going to be sharing spaces in residence. We also have different residences to accommodate different living styles. So we have a residence that is alcohol-free, quiet, and we also have an all-girls residence. And again, this is all outlined in your residence application, and you can make the appropriate selections based on how you want to live at McMaster. The really exciting component that I think it's been a couple years that we've had this, are our living learning communities. So the living learning communities allow you to live in residence with students that have similar interests to you. So there's 11 themes, and this can range from women in science, female leadership, gaming. So if you like video games, there's like an esports residence learning community. We also have one for healthy living and wellness, entrepreneurship. There's tons of great ones. And these living learning communities really unite students who have common interests that are almost above and beyond their programs. So if you're in engineering, maybe you're interested in biomedical engineering and you're interested in healthy living, living in a healthy living learning community could help you meet students from kinesiology, life science, and health science. So you're not in the same program, but you have similar interests. So I really encourage you guys to look into the options of the living learning communities. And really the moral of the story is, whether it's through your residence style selection, to the type of environment, to the living learning community, your residence experience at McMaster can be really customizable. So we have lots of beds available, you're guaranteed a place, and it is definitely the best way to meet people and best transition during your first year. Now, if you don't want to live on campus, that is also totally fine. I opted not to live in residence my first year, and I still had such a great experience that I work for the university and talk about it. So we have Mac Off-Campus Housing Office. So the Mac Off-Campus Housing Office helps you navigate how to find good housing really close to campus, and we will provide a link to their website. So if you want to live off campus, the community surrounding McMaster is very residential. There's lots of houses and apartments available where you can pay private landlords and live off campus in your very own specific environment. The Mac Off-Campus Housing Office is a great resource because they help kind of bridge a gap. So all of you who are in residence can only stay for 1 year, so everyone's going to have to be off campus in second year. And whether you're looking for residence for the first time in first year or you have to look for it in second year, Mac Off-Campus Housing will then not only have active apartment postings, but if you need help searching, you can call them, you can go see them. And if you have a lease and you're living off campus and something goes wrong, maybe your refrigerator breaks and your landlord won't fix it, or your rent goes up, or you're not sure about a particular lease that they want you to sign, you can always come back to them and they can help advocate on your behalf. So they're definitely a really valuable resource, and we're happy to provide more information about that. A couple last points to talk about. A lot of students, a lot of international students often want to know if they can stay in residence during the December break. So you have upwards of 2 weeks off from the fall to the winter semester. And if you would like to stay at McMaster over the winter holidays, you are more than welcome to. You must indicate this on your residence application. So you can't tell us in November that you want to stay in December. You have to determine if you want to stay over the winter break now as you're filling out your June residence application. So we absolutely can accommodate that. You just have to make sure that you indicate your interest when you're filling out your application. So dates that are important. So the important dates are listed on my slide here. So these two are really, really crucial. Again, the June 3rd, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I really wanna make sure that you guys hit that date. So June 3rd is when your residence application and deposit are due. Deposit is $600, and August 21st. So you guys can all start booking your plane tickets. I know students often ask me, how early can we move in? When can I get there? So August 21st is the earliest that we can accommodate you coming into residence. All right, and in regards to residence cost, there are varying price points. So with the 16 different styles, there are 16 different prices. So these prices will range from around $5,500 for a room with more occupants to upwards of $8,700 for that private room in the apartment suite. So as you're looking at the link of what the styles look like, they will have specific price points listed there as well. And I also must stress that a meal plan is mandatory if you are living on campus. And mandatory kind of sounds like a harsh word, like we're forcing you to, but when we say mandatory, it's because we want to make sure that you're well taken care of and that you're eating properly, because your physical health will then help equate to your academic success. So the mandatory meal plans have a variety of different price points that we'll also provide links to. And I should stress that the price points reflect the appetite. So the more that you want to eat, the higher the cost. If you are living in an apartment or a suite style, we will have a lower meal plan because you have access to a kitchen and can therefore do more cooking yourself. Meal plans are valid, so it's money that is put on your student card, so you can swipe at a variety of different eateries. I believe that there's more than 20 different places you can swipe on campus and more than 20 places off campus. Students often ask me if there are halal options, vegetarian options, vegan, kosher. We can accommodate a variety of dietary requirements. That also goes for allergies, and even for students that have a very specific type of food they want to. So if you were to ask anywhere on campus about halal food or vegetarian, our food staff, the food services staff here on campus is fantastic. I can point you in the right directions to make sure that we're offering food that you want to eat. And before I keep talking, I'm going to give my voice a little break, and I'm going to kind of peruse here for questions. So we do have a lot of questions happening right now. Can I stay in the same accommodation all through my undergrad? That's for 4 years. So unfortunately not. Residence accommodations on campus is only for your first year of study, and then you will live off campus. So I'm just going to correct that. Done. Sorry, as I'm like being the facilitator reading the questions, like I hate to have any kind of like dead air time as I'm doing this, so my apologies. So how do we apply for residence? When you have your offer, so your offer that you download from Mosaic will have links on your residence application. So if you follow that link, it'll take you to the housing website, and then you can fill out the residence application and pay the deposit there. Okay. So I'm probably just going to read through these questions because I want to be considerate of everyone's time while my colleagues are talking about their sections, and we'll do more residence Q&As in the last section. So keep all your residence questions till the very end of the presentation, and I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Andrew. So Andrew, whenever you're ready.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the supports that are available to you on campus. First support that I want to share is me. So my role is a student success coach for international students. And what that means is I'm here to really help you throughout your journey, even before you arrive on campus, once you're here on campus, to make sure that it goes smooth, answer any questions that you may have, and really connect you to resources that are on campus. Because McMaster, I saw one of the questions, how big is McMaster? McMaster is a fairly large campus, not necessarily geographically, but in the sense that there's a lot going on all the time, and sometimes it can be very difficult to navigate. But because there's so much going on, that means that there are so many services available. And that's something I really wanted to emphasize, that as a McMaster student, you have access to so many different opportunities, resources. And so I'm not going to go through all of them here because you will be here all day and you'll be overloaded. But I just wanted to sort of highlight a few that are available to you. I think one of the most important things, if you can take away anything from what I'm talking about today, is in Western sort of academic culture, it's really, really important that you ask questions. And that can be questions really, really small in terms of, first day, how do I get to class? Ask anybody, we're happy to help, to bigger concerns that you might have. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's getting a job, maybe it's immigration, maybe it's about your academics. It's just really, really important that you are asking questions as they come up. And so that can be, as you're doing now through the webinar, or once you're here, just make sure that we are all friendly. We're all here to serve you and support you. So please don't hesitate to ever ask any questions. One fantastic resource that we do have available for students is a program called Model. And I'm highlighting this because a lot of international students might know 2, 3, 4, 5 different languages. And so learning in English can be a little bit challenging for some students. So Model is a free program that offers English language support to any student, but a lot of international students do access it. So just sort of store that in the back of your mind. If you have any concerns sort of about your English language ability, once you get on campus, we have lots of free resources available to you. We also have tutoring, academic coaching, academic advisors, lots of workshops that are happening throughout the year. So that there's just so many resources that are available for you. Now, as a student, your academics, of course, are important, but part of being a student is also getting connected with the community, growing socially, growing as an individual. And as I'm sure a lot of you want to experience Canadian culture and see what it's like living in Canada. So there's a lot of social activities that you can participate in. I think at last count, McMaster has about 300 different clubs that you can join. So this could be cultural clubs, spiritual clubs, clubs maybe a bit more focused to your program or just getting involved in the community. I think we even have like video game clubs, things like that. So there's lots of opportunities for you to get involved. We know that it is expensive to be a student, and so I did want to just sort of let you know that as an international student, there are scholarships based on your academic performance or community involvement that you might be able to apply to. Now, most of these typically do require you to have a GPA, so a lot of these might not be things that you could apply to in your first year, but keep in mind that if you are really involved on campus and you're doing really well in your school, you might be able to apply for different scholarships for that. A lot of students want to work part-time, want to work over the summers. We have lots of different supports available. I did see a question earlier about co-op. So if you're in co-op, you will have sort of dedicated co-op advisors that can help you through that journey. But if you're just looking to have a part-time job while you're a student, just know that there is services available. So how to make a Canadian resume, what does a Canadian interview look like, how do I even search for jobs in Canada, what kind of jobs are available. So this is another service that is available to you. And we actually also have a program specifically for international students. So if you feel that you're having a little bit of difficulty, it's called the CAPS program. And that's for students that might have some additional barriers. Maybe you've never worked before and you're not too sure how to sort of go about that process. So keep in mind that that's another service for you. And of course, probably more important than social and academics is your health and wellness. And so I really want to emphasize that your health and well-being is really, really important to us while you're here. So on campus, we do have doctors, dentists, a pharmacy, a wellness center with counseling, lots of different activities to help manage with stress if you're finding a bit overwhelmed, if you're feeling a little bit homesick. We have a lot of these sources on campus. And I think Anna's going to talk to you maybe a little bit about UHIP and what you would be covered for if you've got specific questions. And then we also do have a really amazing athletic and recreation facility on campus. And this is something that is included in your tuition. So again, I don't want to go over all of the services because it'll just be overwhelming for everybody. But I really did want to emphasize that, you know, there's a huge team of people here that are dedicated to support you once you arrive on campus and even before you get on campus. And there are so many services available to you. Anyways, thanks. And if you do have any questions, I'll check the chat and see.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions ready for you, Andrew.
Sure.
So you kind of spoke about sports. Can you talk about, just highlight kind of how many sports we have, maybe any interesting sports teams that may be interested, and maybe can you talk about varsity versus intramural?
Sure. So what I would suggest, because there are so many different activities, if you go to marauders.ca, and maybe we could get that link.
I can put that up right now in the.
Okay, great. So we have varsity teams, which are where you're competing between, you maybe be on the McMaster volleyball team or basketball team, where you're competing against other universities in Ontario or even across Canada. So that's one option. We also have what are called intramurals, which are slightly less competitive. Some are really just for fun, with a little bit of competition, but that's when you're playing different sports against other McMaster students, just sort of in-house. And then we also have a lot of different rec programs. So if you're interested in learning like Korean sword fighting, for example, you can join a class and do that. I'm emphasizing that because I did that several years ago here and it was really fun. But there's a huge variety of different options. And if you go to marauders.ca, you can either click on the recreation side or you can click more on the varsity side and scroll through and see what's available.
Great. Can you talk about kind of like how campus is laid out? So what is the difference or the distance between campus housing and classrooms and kind of off-campus housing and classrooms? So just kind of talk about how easy it is to kind of get around from one to the other.
Sure, yeah. So the first thing you should know is that the campus is really, really beautiful. Right beside us is a huge forest, Royal Botanical Gardens, and so there are lots of hiking trails. So if anybody, you know, just wants to go out and see nature, because I know that's something that Canada is sort of known for, we actually have that right on our front doorstep, which is really awesome. You can get from one corner of campus to another corner walking slowly, maybe 10 minutes across. It's not, there's a lot going on campus, but in terms of distance, you're not going to be walking like half an hour between classes. So if you have classes back to back or something like that, that's not really an issue. A lot of your classes might be in your own faculty building. So a lot of buildings are sort of set up by faculty. So if you're in engineering, a lot of your activities and classes might take place in the engineering building, and then it's maybe a 5-minute walk across campus to the athletic center. Residents, they are all on campus as well. So again, everything's very, very close. If you're living off campus and you go to the off-campus housing website, you'll see that there are different zones. So zone 1 is what we call Westdale, which is sort of this neighborhood of Hamilton. Can probably, a lot of those housing, you can probably walk to campus. All students also get a bus pass, which is included in your tuition. So even if you were a little bit further from campus, maybe downtown or a different part of the city, you actually do have free bus pass available to you. So getting around and getting to campus shouldn't be much of a problem.
Great. Okay, I think that wraps up a lot of the questions most relevant to your section. And now we'll flip it to Anna.
Jessica, I think it's actually you. You're going to take care of the registration part.
Yes, you're right. I'm so sorry. I'm registration. Okay, so course registration is, I'm going to talk very quickly about this. A lot of students ask us about when they can register for classes and when tuition is due. So they actually are directly related to one another. So you're going to be registering for classes in late June, early July. Once you register for classes, then you will get your tuition. Once your tuition is generated, it will be due end of August, so it must be paid before you come to campus in September. So your enrollment appointment will be assigned to you directly. Our system can't handle, thousands of students all registering for classes at the same time. So you may have an enrollment appointment for July 2nd for engineering. Your friend may also be in engineering, and their enrollment appointment might be July 1st. So we try our best to spread it out, but each student will be given a different enrollment appointment. So those will be posted in early June on your student center. So the registrar's office will be sending you emails in June. So once you confirmed your offer and that you're coming to McMaster, you'll start to receive emails from the registrar's office about how to navigate this process. And so during this time in kind of like early June, you're in a little bit of limbo. So recruitment is still here to help you. The ISS team that you're talking to today is still here. And then you also have the registrar's office. And then you have a fourth kind of team of people that will be there to support you. And that's going to be your academic advisors from your faculty. But we're all going to be contacting you to make sure we're here to help, because when you're thousands of miles away, we know that registering for classes can be really stressful. So 4 different people may be emailing you from 4 different teams essentially, and that's okay. So the first email that you should be getting would be from the registrar's office, alerting you to this enrollment appointment and then directing you to the student center so you can see exactly what day you are able to register for classes. The undergraduate calendar is available online. So if you just Google 2019-2020 McMaster undergraduate calendar, you can get a sense of all the different classes that are required for your specific program. So we have about 25 direct entry first year programs ranging from life science, gateway programs to social sciences 1. Some programs are like our gateways and our social science 1, our humanities 1 are completely flexible. So that means that you can choose 10 different classes from different faculties to build your own schedule. And if you are in one of those gateway programs or an open first year program, I really encourage you to familiarize yourself with the undergraduate calendar so you can understand all of the amazing classes we have to offer. You can take pop music, you can take religion, you can take geography, you can take maths. You can really build a great schedule to see where your interests really lie to develop a unique major or double major for yourself. For those of you that are in programs like kinesiology or engineering or computer science or biomedical engineering, you're going to have really specific classes that you must take. And in that case, some programs may have, I guess it's called bulk enrollment or automatic enrollment, where they'll make your schedule for you, and other ones you'll just have required courses that you must enroll for. For those specific required classes, that's where your faculty is going to be your best resource, and your academic advisors will be sending you emails about how to appropriately register for those classes. The next feature will be the My Timetable. So you'll notice that's one word, it's not a typo. That is a really great feature that we have to help you build that timetable. It's going to be quite a different weekly schedule for you from high school. Most students will have somewhere between 15 to 20 hours of lecture per week. So that's when you're with a professor, but then you're also going to have labs, tutorials, and other things that you have to register for. So the My Timetable feature allows you to kind of build these really custom schedules if you're taking lots of electives, to make sure that nothing's conflicting, and to also make sure that you're getting all those required add-ons. So you register for the lecture, it'll make sure that you then register for the appropriate tutorial. And again, I know this is a lot of information for you guys to take on at this time, but you can come back and watch this webinar again. But just know that we are here to kind of help you along the way, and we're trying to tell you this information as early as possible. So we're really setting the expectation of what's to come. So the My Timetable, your enrollment appointment in the Student Center, all the communication you'll be getting after June 1st is all designed to best help you navigate in registering for the appropriate classes. So the student identification that is available for pickup, that last bullet point, that's your McMaster student card. So there's a great feature where you can upload a picture to your student center. We can have your Mac student card ready to go so that when you come to campus, you can just pick up your student card. You don't have to wait to have a picture taken. And again, Jessica has a broken record. That will all be through an email communication with the registrar's office as well. I'm going to quickly look at the Q&A box to see if there are any questions about this. I don't see any questions about it directly, but I will also point out you can register for your fall and your winter classes, and your tuition will be generated for both, but your winter tuition will not be due until the end of December. So you're going to pay for your fall classes in the summer, and you can pay for your winter classes in the end of December / beginning of December. So 2 payments can be spread across the 8 months of the academic calendar. And just going to double check one last time. Does anyone have any course registration questions before we transition on to the next section? Actually, this is kind of related. So February intake. We do not have a February intake. The university has 4 semesters, technically. We have a fall, winter, spring, and summer. Our winter intake would be January, and we do not often admit first-year students to the January intake. Transfer students may come in January, but I would not recommend a first-year student to start a program if there was even availability in that program over the winter. So I do not have a February intake because it is technically a it's mid-semester for us, so we wouldn't have students start in February. We also noticed that there's a lot of questions about scholarship, and I'll kind of address these because I guess it's the most closely related to course registration. Scholarships will vary depending on the program you've applied to. If you have received an offer of admission and there is no scholarship indicated on that offer, then unfortunately we were not able to award any money at that time. However, the Scholarship Financial Aid Services Office has other options available for international students. You can apply for work study, faculty-based scholarships. So at this time, if you haven't been given any money on your offer, that unfortunately is not available, but you are available for upper year faculty-based scholarships. Have all admission decisions been given out? No, we are absolutely still processing admissions decisions at this time. So if you haven't got an offer, I've been trying to go through the chat or the Q&A box. If you have not got an offer yet, I'll give you my direct email address and I'm happy to look into the status of your application. So it says I have a conditional scholarship. What do I need to do to get it? Nothing was mentioned about it. The conditional scholarship means just like the conditions of your offer. So you must maintain the conditions of your offer in order to receive the scholarship. So if your grades drop, then unfortunately the scholarship will not be awarded. So it is conditional based on your final academic grades. Next question, how do we know if our courses are pre-registered? I believe as of now, there are, and maybe someone else can correct me, so I'm not really sure if I should even say this. I think the biomedical engineering may be the only program that does pre-registration, but again, I'm happy to provide my email address to look into a specific circumstance if that's not the program you've applied to. Can I register for classes before I meet all my conditions? Great question. Yes. All of you are going to be registering for classes, every single one of you, and even Canadian students for that matter. Everyone is registering for classes before they meet their conditions. So most of you, your conditions are going to be for July and even August. So you will be registering for classes before you've met the conditions of your offer, and that's completely fine. I understand the discomfort you may have, but this is absolutely a normal process in terms of what first-year students go through when they're transitioning from high school to university. Next question, I'm going to leave the study permit question for Legipe when we get to the end. And transfer credit. So are there any transfer credits for A-level students, and how do we check whether it exempts us for any classes? So this is also a great question because if you've taken a prerequisite at the HL level for IB or A level or AP. I can understand if you would want to know if you need to register for that class. Our policy for transfer credit varies by every single faculty. So I can't really speak generally on this because you may be eligible for an A-level transfer credit for economics or for a math course or a language course. It's really going to depend on your program. For most programs that are in math and science, any of the math and science prerequisites will not be given transfer credit. The institution wants to set you up for success, and we feel that having you jump into a second-year chemistry class would not put you in the best position for success. But also, we worry that if you were to take chemistry off for 1 full year and then go into second-year chemistry in your second year, that you would be a little bit rusty on some of those fundamentals. So we will not give transfer credit for math and science prerequisites, but that's because we feel it's in your best interest for your academic success. So for students that are coming from those 13-year programs and are eligible for transfer credit, I can tell you that you'll do really well in those courses. Some of the information maybe review, and then that's in turn going to help you with any upper year faculty scholarships. So no transfer credit, but you'll get a good grade, which will really help bump your GPA, which may make you eligible for some really great scholarships. So I'm going to stop looking at the Q&A section for a short moment, and I'm going to now properly direct this to Anna instead of jumping ahead to my own section. So Anna, now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to be starting with the International Student Buddy Program. So just so everybody knows, our office actually connects with you way before you arrive on campus. I would probably say by late June, you will be starting to receive emails from us. We do use your applicant email that you have provided the university with, so please check those. So the International Student Buddy Program is, you'll have to, if you want to participate, there'll be an application that will be sent out to you. It's like 5 very simple questions. It just basically asks some of your interests, and then you're paired with an upper year international or domestic student. So the purpose of the program is to help you answer a lot of these questions that sometimes you'll get better answers peer-to-peer. Things like, you know, where do I get my books? Or what kind of weather should I expect the first month I'm there? So it's a great program. Like I said, there will be a ton of emails going out to you in June. So if you are interested in this program, please watch for deadlines and application, and then we will pair you with an upper year buddy. Also in August, we run an airport welcome program. So this is a program where we have come together with 2 other institutions that are from Hamilton and the city of Hamilton. We will be, we meaning me, myself, and actually a lot of student volunteers, will be at the airport waiting for you. So there will be a time where we will ask you to send us your flight information. And if it's between the times that we were at the airport, you will look for the orange team. You can't miss us. We have bright orange shirts with a bright orange sign. And basically you just come to us and you let us know what your method of transportation is to get to Hamilton. So a lot of information, like I said, will be sent out to you beforehand. We'll give you options on taking a bus or getting a prearranged service or taking the train or whatever it is, and you'll decide what method you would like. And then at the airport, we're there to help guide you to that method. So if you're taking the train or the bus, we will walk you over. Even if you have to go, for instance, to the bathroom and you have a ton of luggage, we'll watch your luggage for you, just get you all prepared so that you can make your journey into Hamilton. So again, watch for those emails. We will be sending out emails asking for your flights so that we can hopefully have someone, some of our volunteers at the airport to welcome you. The Ignite program is a pre-orientation program that we have started last year. And this year, the dates will be from August 21st until August 23rd. So this Ignite program is for first-year incoming students who will be staying in residence. So a perk to this is if you register for the program, you will actually be able to move into your residence August 19th and 20th so that you can start participating in the program as of August 21st. So this program was created to help you take care of things like opening a bank account, getting your cell phone ready, anything basically you need to do to get you ready for the academic year and get you ready for Welcome Week. Many students that we have spoken to aren't fully able to participate in Welcome Week because coming to a new country, there are things that you have to take care of that perhaps domestic students don't need to worry about, like opening a bank account. So also, if you are staying in residence, you don't need to pack your linens for your beds if you do not want to, because we do organize a trip to go to IKEA, where you can basically buy your linens and anything that you need for your room. And this is both if you're staying on and off campus. So again, for the Ignite program, like I said, there will be a save the dates being sent out to you shortly, I believe May 1st. And those dates would be August 21st to August 23rd. I do highly recommend that you participate in this program. We are only opening up 100 spots for students, so it is a more intimate experience so that you can be fully ready once Welcome Week hits, and once your academic semester hits, you're ready to go. We also have orientation. So again, with Ignite, we're basically taking care of things before orientation for you. So orientation, you would still have to participate, even if you participate in Ignite, because it will help you navigate the university and familiarize yourself with services that we have at the university. And it's just a bigger welcome for all international students who are coming into McMaster at the undergraduate level. And that usually happens during Welcome Week. It's usually a Monday. So hopefully if we stick to the dates, it'll be the first Monday of Welcome Week. UHIP is the University Health Insurance Plan. This plan is mandatory for all international incoming students, alongside if they have any dependents. So if any of you are married, have children, it will also be a plan that is mandatory for your spouses and children. So what is the UHIP plan? So as a Canadian, or as a permanent resident in Canada, we have what's called OHIP, and that is basically our Ontario Provincial Health Plan. And basically, the universities have come together and they basically made the equivalent for international students, but at the university level. So going to doctor's appointments, if you need any surgeries, blood work, MRIs, x-rays, all those things are covered under the UHIP plan. Just be aware that there are things that are not covered under the UHIP plan, but for that, you are also qualified to be under the MSU Health and Dental Plan, and that plan will cover things for you that are not covered under the UHIP plan. So insurance is very tricky, it's complicated. I'm not going to bore you now with all the logistics, but just know that you do not need to enroll into the UHIP plan. If you are deemed an international student when you register, you will automatically be enrolled into the UHIP plan. You will also be charged in your student account. The prices, I can give you the price for this year. It was $624 for the entire year, so that's $52 per month. And that will be charged to your student account. It's not under tuition. You will actually see a line that says UHIP and with the actual charge. There'll be workshops once you come into the university on the UHIP plan that will go further into depth of what it is, what it covers, when to submit claims to the UHIP plan, when to submit it to the MSU, and everything you need to know for that plan. Just know, all you need to know right now is that you do have a health plan that will cover you from the day that you arrive in Canada if it is after August 10th. If you arrive earlier, please buy your own health insurance because the earliest you can be covered would be August 10th. And throughout the year, we have many workshops, events, and information sessions that happen on different topics. There will be information sessions and workshops on immigration. We also bring someone in from Service Canada, which they will help you get a social insurance number, which is what you need to work while you're in Canada. There are different programs that will take you into the community to experience different cultural restaurants. So Hamilton is booming in restaurants and different scenes. There's a ton of different cultures that are present here in Hamilton. So all I can suggest to you is to get involved in your first year. Don't be shy, come out. There's a ton of stuff. Also in December, if you're staying, as Jessica mentioned, in residence for the December stay, we have a ton of events that happen in December so that you're not lonely and you're not here by yourself because the university is actually closed. So there are a ton of things. So like the most important right now is that you do get our emails. You do start responding to some of those emails. There'll be a ton of information. Once you arrive, you can join our Facebook group page. Again, there'll be a ton of information there for you. And I hope to see everyone in August. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so panelists, Thank you for your contributions. I think that was really informative. We're going to transition into the Q&A section, which I guess really isn't much of a transition because we've definitely been mixing them in as we've been going along. Anna just quickly touched on the December Residence Day. And I know a student had asked the cost associated with that. So if you do want to stay in residence, it's $385 for that whole stay. And so that covers your cost in terms of making sure that there's a community advisor. So that's kind of like an upper year student to help you during the few weeks that you're here on campus, and that there's an on-call residence manager as well. So we want to make sure that the services that we're offering September to December continue when you're here on campus with much fewer students. So $385 is the cost, which I think is very reasonable considering, you know, it's definitely more than 14 nights that you'll be staying on campus, and ISS services are included in your fees, so that's not an additional cost unless you're buying food, obviously. So there's lots of ways that we can make sure you're safe on campus and also still having fun and being involved. So I'm just gonna go down the list here, and GPay, I apologize, I think a lot of these are gonna be study permit oriented. So students would like to know if they wanna work part-time, will that have any implications on their study permit at all?
No, it won't. So usually as a full-time student, your study permit will have a statement at the bottom that will allow you to work on campus. There's no restriction to the number of hours you can work on campus. However, you can work only 20 hours a week off campus. And then during the holidays or scheduled breaks, you can work full-time. So again, when you're applying for a study permit, you're telling immigration that you're coming to Canada to study. So they don't expect you to be working, full-time. That's why there's restrictions on the number of hours you can work off campus. But it has no effect. Your study permits, as long as you're a full-time student, will usually have a statement allowing you to work on and off campus.
Okay, great. Next question is a two-part question. When should students start applying for their study permit? And how long are the processing times? And I know that's obviously going to vary, but I'll flip it to you.
Yeah, okay. So you should start applying for your study permit as soon as you get your offer letter. Processing times vary by country. So you can go on the immigration website and check the current processing times for study permits for your country. It ranges from 2 weeks to 3 months or 5 months in some cases. It really depends on the country. So my advice would be to start applying once you have your offer letter.
Okay. So if a student's passport is expiring in 2020, should they renew their passport before applying for their study permit?
So most countries, I believe, you can only renew your passport if it's expiring within 6 months. So in that, no, you just have to apply for the study permit. They will give you your study permit until 2020, and then when you get to Canada, you can renew your passport and then apply for a new study permit or extend your study permit. However, if you are able to renew the passport, then yes, it's better to just renew the passport before applying.
Okay, great, thank you. Andrew, I'm gonna give you guys a heads up so you have time to kind of get your microphones all in order. Andrew, can you talk a little bit more about clubs? So kind of highlighting, and I know I keep giving you these big questions of just talk about all the sports at McMaster because we have a lot, but can you talk a little bit more about clubs?
Sure. So there's different types of clubs. So there's clubs through the MSU, which is the McMaster Student Union, which all students are part of. And so these clubs, as I said, there's over 300. So they are things from doing fundraising, maybe a club based on your program of study, maybe based on your cultural background. So I know the Chinese Student Association, I think they have 3,000 members. It's an enormous club. And then each of these clubs will have different activities and events that they put on. And so I would really encourage you, once you get on campus, or even before, if you just Google McMaster Student Clubs, you can see the directory. and see what's of interest. And it's a great way to get involved and meet people. And then there are also different societies within your faculty as well. So these might be a bit more academic focus, even though they're not necessarily totally academic focused. They still are social, but as I said, that there's so it's a vague question because there's so many different options out there. But my suggestion would be just Google McMaster student clubs, and you will see that directory. And I think last I checked, there were about 300.
Yeah, exactly. So there's tons of clubs, and that could range from like meeting with friends who like to eat cupcakes to meeting with students that all want to become doctors and want to work on their MCAT. So it's like everything in between. And the first week that you're here on campus during orientation, we have like a club fair day where all the clubs are kind of in the main quad of campus, and everyone has a booth set up so you can just walk around and learn about, maybe there's a club that you never even thought, like a K-pop appreciation club, and you're like, yeah, I've never really thought about K-pop. So you can join different clubs each year, but the club fair is the best place. Well, the website, definitely number one step, and then the club fair is another great resource. So I have a lot of students asking about accepting their offers. So the one question is, and I'll kind of like ask the question and then address it myself. Can I accept offers from other universities at the same time if I'm not sure which one I want to go to? Technically, you can accept other offers outside of Ontario. If you applied on OUAC, you can only accept one offer from Ontario. If you accept another offer, it will override the acceptance at the other institution and then decline that offer. So within Ontario, you can only accept one, but we are not able to see if you've accepted an offer from Australia, US, or BC. It's not something that I would advise any student to do. I think that things can get a little bit tricky in terms of deposits and looking at different deadlines and things like that. You should really just try to accept one offer just to kind of keep things organized and consistent, especially for your study permits as well. So I would advise only to take one, but you technically, based on the system in Ontario, you can only take one, but the systems do not communicate with other universities outside of the province. Okay. So if you're not sure which university you would like to go to, should I apply for a visa anyways? Yes, still start your visa application. And Legipe, I'm going to kind of tap you on the shoulder for this one as well. If a student starts a visa application in Canada for one university but changes their mind, how does that work?
So if you start a study permit application and you change your mind while it's still processing, that is a gray area, because you should inform immigration that you've changed your mind, but it could also then makes you look like you don't know what you want to the immigration officer. So it's not ideal to change your mind during the process. However, after you get to Canada, if you decide to change your program, immigration has, you can let them know online, and they actually have a step-by-step process, instructions for you to, they call it transferring your DLI. So DLI is Designated Learning Institution. You can only get a study permit if you're going to a DLI. So all DLIs have a number, and you would probably see that on your offer letter, or you can find it on the immigration website. So you would have to transfer online to let immigration know that you have gone from one school to another school. And that's very important because immigration will send updates sometimes once or twice a year to make sure that students are in the school that they say they're attending. And so if you don't make those changes, if you don't let immigration know, and they send the update to a school you're no longer attending, then you could get in trouble.
Okay. So yeah, we would advise not to, but we understand that, things change and circumstances change. So I think that's really valuable advice. Thank you, Legipe. So next question in regard to study permit is, how long will a study permit last for? So how long are they usually issued for? Is it usually the duration of the whole program, or will they have to apply for renewal while they're doing their undergraduate studies.
Okay, so study permits are usually for the duration of the program. However, the final decision does rest with the immigration officer. In some cases, I've seen students only be issued a 6-month study permit or a year study permit, and most times it's because the officer might not be fully convinced about the intention to study, or they just want to give the student an opportunity to come here and make sure that they're attending school and they have the means to pay for their studies. Once you're in Canada, it's very easy to extend your study permits. So there have been cases where the study permits were not issued for the length of the program, but it doesn't affect your studies. You would be able to extend your study permits as long as you do it on time.
Great. So I'll answer this next question. So it says work permits. I'm going to assume it's study permits. So are work permits approved for students before they've completed their conditions? Yes, this often happens, that you will get a study permit before the conditions of your offers have been finalized or met. So for our students that are studying in the British pattern system, your conditions are not until mid to late August. You probably will have your study permit before that. So it does happen, it is common. So not to worry about that component as well. For the next few questions, questions about co-op, I'm going to direct you guys to email us directly. Unfortunately, co-op was kind of beyond the scope of today's webinar. There's so much great information that McMaster has to share, and we really have to kind of pick and choose what to talk about in webinars like this. So unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about co-op. I'll kind of just do a quick 1-second blurb. So co-op is for engineering and science programs. Co-op is only mandatory for the BTech students. So if you're looking at computer science, life science, math and statistics, engineering, biomedical engineering, any of those other programs, and you haven't picked co-op, it is not too late. You can opt into those programs once you come to McMaster. So that is the case for all of the programs except BTech. If you are studying humanities, social science, or business, there are internships available, and you'll have to talk directly to your faculty about what opportunities exist for international students and eligibility for different programs that they have there. But for co-op, math and stats, life science, again, those science and engineering programs, it's not too late to opt into them, and you can opt into them once you come to McMaster. Tuition fees, use the cost estimator. The cost estimator on our future website is really helpful to get a sense of what the cost will be for the program. What if I apply for a visa to McMaster but don't get the grades necessary? Okay, so if you apply for a study permit, you get the study permit, but then you don't meet the conditions of your offer, it's a bit of, it really depends, because if you lose your offer to McMaster, you're not able to study here. So if your grades are below the cutoff average, then you may have to look at applying to another university or potentially asking McMaster if there's any eligibility at another program. So if you've lost an offer to one program and there is space in another program, we may be able to get you into a different program at McMaster. So those circumstances happen very rarely, I promise. They do happen from time to time, and the staff, both ISS, myself, and the faculties are here to help if you are in that circumstance, and we will try our best to problem solve. But ultimately, if you do not meet the conditions of your offer, you will lose your offer and then ultimately cannot study at McMaster. So what happens with your study? Actually, Legipe, what would happen with a student's study permit? Then it would kind of be the circumstance you were talking about where they could transfer, like they could come to Canada, apply to another university, and transfer that study permit to the new institution?
Yes, so when you apply for a study permit, the visa officer will issue you either an ETA or TRV, which will allow you to enter Canada. You'd also get a paper saying that your study permit has been approved. However, your study permit is actually not approved, issued until you enter Canada. So when you get to the border, when you get to the airport, the visa officer is going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you for all of your documents, your letter of enrollment, proof of pay, and so at that point, if they realize that you no longer have an offer, you will most likely not be allowed to enter Canada. If you realize that you don't meet the conditions of your admission, like Jessica was saying, it would be best that you contact the school and look for another program that you could get admission for. Look for just look for another program that you would qualify for, because if you try to come into Canada with a study permit, but you don't have an eligible program, you most likely won't be able to enter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so students want to know, is it difficult to apply for study permits? Like, is it too complex for them to do themselves, or do they need to find somebody to help them?
It's a very straightforward process. I've created a guide for first-time students, which we'll be sharing with all the participants, and it just takes you through the step-by-step process and some of the frequently asked questions. You also have access to me. You can send me an email if something's looking a bit too difficult or you're not sure about a particular step. Some students choose to use a consultant or a lawyer. That's fine. My only advice is that if you're using a consultant or a lawyer, make sure that they're licensed, make sure that they have experience, and that they won't, because any information that you provide to immigration, whether by yourself or through a representative, you're still responsible for it. So just make sure that the person that you're using, if you decide to use one, is good at their job and they're licensed and they have the experience to deal with that.
Great. Okay, so we are almost at 12:15, so I don't want to keep anybody any later, because for some of your time zones, it's quite late at night. So I'm answering 2 last questions, and then we are going to say our goodbyes, but just know that it's a temporary goodbye, and we'll see you on campus in the fall. So a lot of students are asking, after accepting an offer on OUAC, can they accept another offer? Can they accept 2 offers and start the study permit? I will say this again. So if you accept another university and then you get an offer to make master and you want to accept us, you can, because that acceptance will override the old offer. So you will decline and then accept ours. I do not recommend accepting 2 offers and doing a study permit. I don't even think you can do a study permit with 2 offers. No, Legipe is saying no. So no, you can't. 1 offer. So use 1 offer for the study permit. If your offer letter is going to expire, I'm going to make sure I type this one. So if your offer expires May 1st, but you're waiting for another university, it really depends on the program. So I'm going to type you my email address, and we can talk about it directly, because it will vary on the program of whether or not there is space after May 1st. So I can't guarantee that we can extend that deadline. So, I mean, we could literally stay on here all day and answer your questions. We really wish we could, but we want you to get rest, because we know a lot of you are in final examinations, and we want you to make sure you meet the conditions of your offer, so we don't have any of those situations happen that we talked about before. We all want to thank you for attending. So thank you, panelists, for your valuable time. Thank you, attendees. Also, your time is very valuable. The May 1st deadline is quickly coming up, so make sure you contact us with any questions along the way. We will share our email addresses with everyone that attended as well, so if you have questions up until May 1st and beyond, we are here to help. And I want to give a quick heads up. So for any of you that are still listening, if you are living in Delhi, Mumbai, Muscat, Doha, Dubai, Amman, or Istanbul, we will be in your city. So we've been emailing students there to say that we are going to be there to chat face-to-face. So if you would like to book a meeting, please pay attention and respond to those emails, because this is a great chance to talk to us face-to-face, to go over the same information we talked about or answer any new questions. So again, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you soon. So we'll see you in August or September. So thanks so much, and we're all signing off.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.